Hello, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. In today's video, I'll be doing a reading for you, but first I'm going to start with an excerpt from Colin Wilson's book, The Occult, and this is from a chapter on Russian mystics, where he's discussing some of Gurdjieff's work and theories, but placing it in a larger context as well. Ask yourself why a holiday often produces an increasing state of positiveness, of optimism and well-being, and the feeling that life is immensely interesting. Because the change makes you put more interest into the act of consciousness, of seeing and doing. Why did Sartre feel so free during the war when he might be arrested at any moment? Because the danger made him keep alert, that is, put more interest into seeing and doing. Normal consciousness is shy and lazy and mole-like, hardly putting any effort into living. We allow habit to tempt us into devaluing experience. It is too easy to forget the values we have fought for. Why does Paris feel such ecstasy as he lies naked beside Helen for the first time? Because he has fought and plotted and schemed for this moment, and now it has arrived, he means to savor it to the last drop. But unless he is a very remarkable person, he will be taking her for granted when he has made love to her 1,000 times. We have to live close up to life, to see it from a worm's eye view, and we forget the wider bird's eye view. What can be done about this forgetfulness of existence, to borrow Heidegger's phrase? At the end of all and everything, Beelzebub tells his grandson that what man really needs is an organ by which he can be constantly aware of the exact date of his own death. This would stop men wasting their lives as if they were immortal. This solution is precisely the same as the one offered by Heidegger in Being in Time. Live with a constant awareness of death. The injunction is useful, but not very helpful. Hemingway, for example, tried to live up to it, and still died a pathetic alcoholic. Alright, that's an interesting quotation. I do believe that the awareness of one's mortality is of the utmost importance. This is something that's discussed in the Buddhist tradition at length, and many other traditions as well, and certainly in contemporary goth culture, if you're familiar with that, because it really makes you value your time. So I think that maybe this will be a little reading on valuing your time and making the best of it, and going beyond just awareness of your mortality, but also valuing your daily consciousness while you are alive. All right. Shield. Okay, so I get the sense that in some ways, your ability to appreciate your consciousness and be aware in every moment almost shields you from some things. Because when you're really unaware and you're kind of just going through life on autopilot as this automaton, as a robot, you're not really aware of what possibilities could occur in any moment. And so in the sense that your awareness protects you from these possible outcomes that will end in drudgery and dreariness. Whereas when you're truly aware, you can understand, it's like if you've ever seen the movie Donnie Darko and they have these the pathways coming out of them that are like these spirit ghosts. That is how it is. Any moment when you're fully aware, you can see the outcomes or possibilities that will happen based on the actions or words you speak and where you direct your attention. But it requires a really high degree of focus, but you'll understand which actions will result in what results, and this will shield you from outcomes that are undesirable to your conscious mind. All right. Focus. So this is exactly what this whole passage is talking about, is really directing your focus and putting yourself in your own shoes, not just kind of thinking outside of it as I'm just going through my life and it's I have a story that I tell myself about I'm so-and-so and I wake up every day and this is my workplace. But focus is that presence in the exact moment, looking through your eyes, feeling into your exact experience of consciousness in the moment. And this is what really connects you to this sort of higher self that goes beyond the ego, beyond the persona of this the story that you've told yourself about who you are, and connects you to this deeper power and this deeper consciousness that helps you take inspired action in the moment and really improve your life in a meaningful way, in a really fulfilling way, and make the best of it, and not just live as if every day is just a day to get through, a day to waste, use up the hours so you can get on to the next one. No, it's really each minute, each moment is precious, and we really have to see it as such if we want to, set up a desirable outcome in this very short life that we have. All right, butter knife. So this is again like relating to the concept of focus, is like you are spreading your attention too thin sometimes, right? Is sometimes you really need to hone that beam of attention and really focus it into just one thing, right? So if you're the type of person who maybe always has background noise going on, like you always just have something playing in the background, and like, you know, for example, music, right? Like music captures such a unique aspect of human emotion that is like almost, I mean, it is its own language, and it's so interesting and intellectually stimulating to decode the emotion and feelings that are captured in music, and the complex rhythms and harmonies and all of that. Like, just, you know, it's so stimulating. But when you spread your attention too thin and reduce music to background noise, and then you have something playing on the TV or you're scrolling on your phone at the same time, and you're just kind of sitting there just like all overstimulated by all these inputs, you're not getting any value out of any of those things. And like this thing that could provide you so much stimulation, inspiration, and emotional healing, you're not getting value out of because you've spread yourself too thin. And specifically, you've spread your attention too thin. Right, it's like a light that can be focused in, right? When it's widened out, it's diluted, and it doesn't illuminate things so brightly because you're illuminating so much of a room. But when you hone in on that spotlight, that focused beam, it's so much stronger, and like a laser, it almost has this penetrating quality. All right, T. So again, this card really relates to like quiet contemplation and like focus, and really like this methodical action, right? Because sometimes if you're a little bit scrambled and you're really not like locked into your focus and your consciousness, you're kind of all over the place. But the preparation of tea is really this precise step by step, and understanding that, you know, one step must be completed before the next can be accomplished, and that each step is very important in the process. So really, by being aware and being conscious and taking your time, you can actually execute the processes that you need to execute in order to contribute to the development of your consciousness, personality, and your life as a human. All right, so let's pull one more card from this deck that I've illustrated, and then we'll get into some tarot for today, which is exciting. I don't pull tarot very often because, honestly, I will be honest, I have a bit of a confidence problem. And tarot intimidates me, honestly. I don't know why. All right, we've got a mouse. So this relates exactly to what was discussed in this passage by Colin Wilson, is talking about this like mole-like aspect of like this timidity and, unwillingness to really experience our lives, right? Instead of hiding in this hole, like you could go out into the world and explore, and not just be a rat in a maze or a hamster on a wheel living the same day over and over, or like the mouse, you know, is in Plato's little cave looking at the shadows on the mouse wall. And, you know, of course the world is filled with traps, and, you know, these must be avoided, but by honing your consciousness and awareness, you'll be better able to avoid traps, and at the end of the day, you will get the cheddar. All right, so let's pull a few tarot cards here on making the best of your life and honing your consciousness. And a little bit more on why I find tarot intimidating. I think because there's so much information contained in these cards that really it could take a lifetime of study to really understand them or get the full information out of them. So I feel like, you know, when I'm reading tarot, it's like I'm barely touching the surface, just because my lack of life experience and knowledge in astrology is not as that thorough. But let's see what comes out. Okay, we've got the moon. Ooh. This is a really interesting deck. It's the Tarot of the Sephiroth. It's yes, this like a Jewish mysticism. Okay, so we've got the moon, and it's like it has this reflective quality of what is hidden, right? And so the thing about consciousness is that, you know, we have our conscious mind, but we also have the unconscious of what is hidden, and that is really guiding our actions and directing us in ways, you know, at play with the conscious mind. So I think really what the moon card is trying to say is like to also be aware of your unconscious impulses and these things that you're not fully aware of, because they are directing your attention. You know, if you're someone who feels this need to like constantly escape or like be stimulated and that sort of thing, it's because there's something in your unconscious mind that's like pushing you to do this. And so by bringing those things to your conscious mind, you'll be better able to direct your attention consciously. All right, let's pull another card from this deck. Okay, we've got The Five of Discs. Okay, and this one, you can see they're all like chained up in this upside down pentagram. And, you know, it's relating to some sort of aspect of like protection of like what is locked, or something that is, again, like something really hidden away. So it's like your power, the power that you hold within your consciousness and within what you can accomplish by focusing your attention, is locked away, kind of like a superpower that you haven't yet uncovered, when you're acting unconsciously. And really, by putting into practice these really conscious techniques of, deciding in every moment that you will be focusing your attention, that you will be thankful for the life that you're given, that you'll be thankful for the ability to make decisions and really exercise this ability and make the best decisions that you can in every moment. This is the unlocking of your power, is reclaiming the power that you have as this human being, as a spiritual being, as a conscious mind, instead of going along with the hamster wheel of the unconscious cycles that you're repeating as a robot. This is really like reclaiming your power, essentially. And maybe tapping into a new power, like it feels new to you, but really you've had it all along, because it was locked away from years of misuse or non-use. Yeah. All right. I've got the Seven of Wands. So I feel like this really relates to something of like similar to this card of focus, of like, really creating this sort of centralized core to yourself, is having a strong sense of self will better make you able to utilize your consciousness, because you can understand where the impulses are coming from. Like when you have a really strong sense of self, it's not so muddled, and in this way you can kind of decode like where different influences or thoughts are coming from. But when you kind of have this really unstable sense of self or underdeveloped sense of self, you're just not really aware of who you are, and you don't really have that core. Sometimes consciousness feels really overwhelming and confusing, and this is why sometimes we might try and escape by things outside of ourselves, is the constant desire to hear another human voice, of hear someone else talk, of watch a movie, of be told what to do, to watch the news, be told what to think. These all really come from this a lack of sense of self, of confidence in our own convictions, of really this desire to participate in like a wider contemporary culture, comes from a really weak sense of self sometimes. And this is kind of like coming from the perspective of an artist, right? That you might be compromised in that really as an artist, you're meant to speak your own truth and create culture and, bring your own experience into existence. Whereas if you're struggling with this feeling of like having a really weak core, you don't know who you are as an artist, and you can't really express this to the world because of that. All right, let's pull a few more cards. This is going better than I thought. Okay, the Ace of Cups. So again, this is like really relating to feelings of like overflowing of almost like too much, where sometimes the world it's a beautiful place for sure. There's a lot going on in this world. There's so much beautiful stuff to look at, things to think about, people to talk to, so much that really our cup runneth over with all the experiences that we can have in this world. But this also comes at a cost, which is that it is very confusing to us, of like, what are we supposed to do with our days? It's so much that, I think I'm just gonna tap out and get drunk and lie down in bed, or like, that sort of thing. Like it's too much to even like, where do I start? Like, who do I talk to? Who do I form a relationship with? There's too many options, right? And so really this is about, again, like coming back to your sense of self and really understanding like, what do you want from life, figure that out. Then you can figure out what the actions are that you need to take to get to that point. And then when you have a good framework of like, okay, what type of actions, like where am I acting from? Then in any moment, you'll be able to figure out, okay, this is the right situation for me to be in. This is the right person for me to be talking to right now. This is the right thing to be looking at. This is the right book to be reading. And all of a sudden, this overflow that almost feels like, a tsunami coming to knock you over, instead feels like an overflowing cup that you can drink from at any time. And you just need to choose where to drink from. And it's not going to wash you away or destroy anything, but instead can be very nourishing and healing to you. All right, a few more cards. All right, we've got the King of Swords. So again, this is like a very powerful energy that is like very direct, and it's this feeling of like kind of like a leadership. And as you can see in this card, like he's quite high in the sky as well, and you kind of have this like moon image kind of coming in that's similar to what we drew here, of this sort of like beaming down from the sky from it's almost like in some ways your consciousness is not quite located in your physical body, is almost how it feels. It's like certainly your brain is there, and this is where the thoughts come from, but when it comes to consciousness, like so much of it is it's nebulous. It's almost like in like another plane in some ways. And by really accessing this power and like reclaiming it, and not just thinking of yourself as just this weak-willed little mouse in a maze, but really thinking of yourself as powerful being who is seated in the throne of the heavens, then you're able to really take decisive action in your life, and in a way that you feel confident about. Like the confidence is really important too. It's like, and I know I mentioned I struggle with confidence issues, and I think we all do, and it's important to acknowledge when we're acting out of insecurity, and this is what will help us grow to be more confident, is to acknowledge, what, I am insecure about these things, but then having that, confidence building up as you can acknowledge this and like realize what you need to do to help yourself work on these insecurities. Like this is what will give you more power in the long run. All right. See, reading tarot was fun. I had nothing to be unconfident about. Let's pull one more card to close out on this topic. All right, the Queen of Discs. Ooh, this is a very beautiful one. I really like the art on this card. We've kind of got this like ancient Egypt looking figure sitting by the Nile. It's very beautiful. So again, this is like a really like feeling of like the power that you hold over your ability to could cultivate abundance in this world, and not just a material abundance, but a psychic abundance, and really but also very material too, like when it comes to getting what we want out of this life, what probably what you want, not everyone, but I'm just assuming for you guys, is like you probably want shelter, food, like you want to be financially secure and comfortable in your life, and maybe you don't necessarily want to be rich, like you're probably going to live within your means, but you want to at least be able to say like, I have the financial freedom to make the decision that I want to make. Like if I want to go on a trip, if I want to, invest in a business, if I want to start my own business, right? Just having that freedom to be like, I can make the decision I want, like money doesn't rule over me. I think that big part of this is understanding that by honing our conscious mind and ability to focus and work on a project over time, that this is what will help us build material wealth. Specifically if we're someone who wasn't like necessarily born into wealth or blessed through, winning the lottery or something like that. But like if you're really starting from scratch, what you need to do is have this really long-term thinking. I think we all know that just, being a rat in the maze and being an employee is not going to get us anywhere. Like, no matter how much money you put away from your paycheck every month, when you're still working for an employer and generating profit for them, like, you're just not going to be able to get to that point of really financial independence and freedom. I mean, like, even if you land yourself a really good job, that's just so soul crushing that you're going to lose your soul by the time you've made enough money for your employer to then have it trickle down to you. Like, see, it's just completely a fallacy. Like, what you really need to understand is that you are a sovereign being, you're the lord of yourself, and you have the power, intelligence, wisdom to make the decisions that will be right for you and that will be encouraging for success in your career. All right. Well, I hope the message for today was somewhat inspiring. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.